Welcome to the Own Your Best Life podcast. I'm May Emson, your host, leadership and mindset coach. Here, we talk all things spiritual, mindset, business, leadership, and wellness for the modern seeker who wants to align their life with purpose and inspiration. We'll cover career changes, stress management, meditation, energy, intuition, and more. Each episode holds spiritual and practical tools to help you live a life of your wildest dreams without getting burnt out along the way. Ready to live a life on your own terms? This is the Own Your Best Life podcast. Welcome, friends, to episode number 152 of the Own Your Best Life podcast. When you come into the stage in life where you are searching for financial independence and autonomy, you do want to consider how money mindset and your work ethic are part of the equation. And it's important for you to start considering what limiting beliefs and factors are present in your life that keep you from having a better relationship with money and your work. And whether you come from an immigrant family or one where you've been established, certain beliefs and mindsets are shared and passed down. And today we're going to dive into the idea of money mindset and how to work smart. So all of us come from different backgrounds and circumstances, and many of those beliefs start from that place. If you have money, you'll have more money. If you know people, they'll help you get more opportunities. These are beliefs, and we've also seen them play out in real life. Yet, you remember that there may have been a point where people didn't have the money and didn't know the people. Who was the first person that didn't have the money in that family, for example? What did they do then? Well, they broke the model that was given to them, and they created new mental models. They asked questions about how to have more money or how to meet new and more people, how to establish financial independence to have their basic needs met. And over time, generational wealth is created as each generation adds a little bit more. So we forget when we compare ourselves and our lives to other people that there were different circumstances and different starting points. And as someone myself who came from an immigrant family to the U.S., I benefited from my parents and their parents' hard work and luck. My parents paid for my education, which allowed me to have more money and flexibility. Yet we all know the stories where people have money, they have the opportunities, but they don't seem to make the most of their lives as well. They feel stressed, they feel frustrated, they feel like they lack a sense of purpose or fulfillment. And no matter how high in the job tiers they feel they are, they still feel like they're not really making the most. Yet the ones that do take advantage of opportunities are the same ones that can leverage whatever they do have and make the most of it. So it's not always just because of your circumstances, but I do want to acknowledge how big of a factor that circumstances play, especially when you start to do the comparison game. So the immigrant mentality for me, that was my circumstance, taught me about hard work. But it was up to me to execute and to actually do the work. So my work ethic was my calling card and the reason for my success for the things that I'm most proud of in my life, including my relationships. And I've seen how the attitude of giving up doesn't benefit us a lot of the times, right? We can change direction, we can act more intelligently, but I know for myself, I have a very persevering and fighter's kind of attitude. And I actually realized that I had so much more to give within me when I started playing sports, when I started to actually do work. And this served me well for most of my life. Yet when I got into increasingly intense work and jobs where if I wanted to, I could work forever, the demands began to outstrip my capacity. And work ethic and intelligence can only go so far before you burn out because you don't have the rituals, you don't have the routines, you don't have the energy management practices to support a more demanding lifestyle. And after getting sick frequently, I knew I didn't want that life anymore, but there was this feeling of the golden handcuffs, seeing that I could do more, I could have more progression in my career. But I knew something that actually saved me from going on that route and doing the thing that I knew wasn't aligned for me. I knew I didn't want to burn out constantly, and I knew that the signs that my body was showing me was a symptom of work that had to be done mentally. So when I took my work ethic and I coupled it with stress and frustration, this was a deadly combination in an unhealthy way. And if I were to redo my burnout periods all over again, I don't think I would have worked that much less. I just would have had more perspective. I would have stressed less. I wouldn't have tried to carry everything on my own shoulders and try to be the only person to solve the problem. And I would have leveraged, and I'm going to talk about this because I think for us, the key here for money mindset and working smarter is leverage. So remember, if you take one thing away from this, it's about leverage. I'm going to explain to you what that means. So I would have focused more on leveraging what I had and who I knew. So this is working smart. Most of us think that we need to trade time for money, but what we're really trading is results for money. And when we focus on results, we think about leverage and time differently. We think about how hard work can look different to us in our lives now. The focus becomes on the objective, the intention, the why we're doing this thing, not just how much can you pour into it. So you ask better questions about what is the most effective way, the most efficient way to do this. You think about the long-term results, the implications of what you're doing on the relationships you have. Your professional and your personal relationships will help you go further, faster than you realize. They will support you more than you realize. Social isolation creates additional chronic stress, especially when you have a demanding workload. So this is another vantage point from which you can leverage and stop burning so much of your own energy. Find the places and communities where you can land, the people in your life where you can land with and be supported. And you will exit situations where you know you're set up to fail, and you will create new opportunities. But you do that from a place of leverage. And that's how I know immediately where someone is at with their money mindset and with their thoughts around work. Is this long-term versus short-term approach? We may not know all of these things as we start our careers, as we burn out, because we might think that burnout and work ethic are tied to the requirement for success. And it is a critical component for success in terms of work ethic, but if we need to play the long game, we need it to be sustainable. You might work hard and then rest, but there is a need for you to continue on as long as you can, especially if the work you're doing is really important to you. If you really need to make more money and you are providing for your family, you'll have to be able to weather the storms. You have to be able to continue. And it's easy to work the plan. It's easy to have the schedule when all the great results are pouring in, when you feel that the world around you is very structured and supporting you in this very nice way. Yet, what happens when you have rejection after rejection or failure after failure? The struggle and the managing of people and all of the moving parts. You need to take care of yourself through all of it. And when I see achievers that feel burned out and they feel disillusioned, one of the number one factors is the feeling that they're not supported. So money mindset is really about how supportive and how supported you are in life. And I think this is a different spin on it than most people consider. They consider money mindset like, how easy does money seem to flow to me in my life? And that is definitely a component. How worthy do I feel of abundance? That is also one component. But supportive and being supported engages the energetic work of money. And when we think about money, it is an energy and it is an exchange of value. And you might think, well, it's tangible. I see the money, I feel the money. But the value of what money means to you is not tangible. The decision of what a home means, of what X number of dollars in your bank account means to you is not tangible. And so if we can tie ourselves back into that energetic feeling of money and what it means, we can start to see how it's starting to pull us in different directions, maybe unintentionally. So I want you to consider how supportive and supported you feel in your life, because money as a factor essentially is going to help support us, and it helps us be able to support other people. And a question to ask yourself is, do you feel that life is a gift? Do you feel that there are so many opportunities in front of you? This is that I'm very supported feeling. And even if you had no money, do you honor what you have? Do you feel gratitude for every small thing? And whether we have a lot or a little money, we know that this is all relative perspective. And you know this because you've had a lot and you've had a little, and things have been changing and ever flowing. Whether we have a lot or little, what we know for sure is that humans don't realize that money isn't tied to happiness, but it is up to a certain amount of money, which has been researched to be $75,000. Obviously, this isn't exact for every person, and you have to adjust for cost of living. But often we think we're going to be really happy and fulfilled when we make a certain amount of money or have a certain amount of security, but we aren't. And we need a certain amount for us to cover basic needs. But beyond that, this is different. This is a different question. We're going to find different ways to want more. And we start taking money for granted. We start taking what we have for granted. We start to diminish what we already have. And this is just your human psyche at play. So your awareness of this is going to help you have a healthier money mindset. And if we also consider why money mindset is related to working, we want to understand, well, what work is required? And what do I think about work? Everything we have in life is ever changing. It doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just is. This is how life works. And that includes our definition of success. So are we changing our definition of success consistently and constantly? How much do you want to work? And for what reason? When you don't know these things, it's hard for you to ever feel fulfilled. It's hard for you to feel like you ever have enough money. And if you want to make more money, you're not wasting the money you currently do have because you're grateful for it and you're grateful for the work that you do have. The other day I was walking down the street and I fully felt in my body how grateful I was to have the work I have, the business I have, and be paid for this work. I don't take it for granted, but it is active work to not take things for granted. And this is a very long-term approach. There's work that's required to start new things, to invest, to see your income drop, to see your savings drop. And it's not always easy to keep going despite all of that, and to find new and better ways to be more profitable, to keep money flowing in, to see things grow. Yet what's required of you to keep a healthy money mindset, even when things don't look the way you want, and you're working overtime, is going to be very different if you think about the long term versus the short term. So when I started asking the question of what am I doing for the long term versus the short term, it changed everything, my friends. It changed how I thought about running and my physical health. It changed how I think about my work, the ebbs and flows of the economy, the companies I work with, the clients I have. It changed how I think about my network, my social circles. It changed how I thought about my investments, how I make money. And it's all so dependent on your thinking. And our mindset isn't questioned enough. And if we realize that we don't actually need a lot more money to be happy, what would it actually be then that makes you happy? What would be the real reason you make money and spend money? What would be the real reason that you work? And if you go there, you're going to go to those things and you'll find yourself with a healthier sense of financial security because you know how to create it for yourself, no matter where your starting point is, no matter what your circumstances are. And even if you have a bigger hill to climb than someone else, because of exactly what I talked about, the amount of support you already have, the circumstances that you've been set up with in your life, you know that you're in it for the long haul and you're willing to do the work. What will keep you going is how you think about money, how you think about how supported you are, and what working smarter means to you. This is so individual, yet there are a lot of commonalities that we can learn from. And I teach all of this in Spiritual Achiever Coaching. How do we make money? How do we do what matters most? How do we figure out how to do it more intelligently and with a greater sense of purpose, with a sense of exploration, to deeply live our lives and to not waste another moment wishing we were somewhere else or someone else? So you can schedule a consultation at mayemson.com/contact to learn more about working together and joining this community of like-minded, open, and curious seekers. It is the powerful group and private coaching hybrid experience for achievers who want to expand their vision of what's possible. You will have 12 months of support, individualized guidance, community where we cover these topics and expand our thinking and question and challenge things, and retreats. We will help you build your confidence, help you trust your intuition, and make decisions that you love so that you can figure out what's next and start living that life now. And I've also created a free masterclass just for you. If you're ready to figure out what's next, which is the question I get all the time, you'll want to sign up for the replay of my most recent masterclass called Figuring Out What's Next. You can go to the link in the show notes to sign up and to learn those 3 phases of where you're at in your career or your life, what the crossroads look like to know how you can identify it, where you are, and then what to do and what to focus on in each phase. All right, my friends, that is it for this week. I hope you have an amazing one. Happy spring, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks so much for joining us this week on Own Your Best Life. Make sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts so that you'll never miss a show. And while you're at it, can you please rate and review on iTunes? I would so appreciate it. Share it with a friend, take a screenshot of it, and tag @MayEmson. This helps continue to get the word out. For more show notes and resources, check out www.mayemson.com. It'll have all the links to everything you heard here today. Thanks so much for listening. It's time to own your best life.